This is a concert review for Geese in Toronto at the Opera House on October 11th, 2025. I'm going to be presenting my analysis of this concert from two different perspectives, which are in many ways absolute opposite perspectives. The first of which will be this one, literally like on the stage, on the side of the stage next to the band. I could reach out and touch them if I wanted to. The second perspective is the opposite, and that's from the second balcony at the very, very tippy top of this place. I'm going to tell you what it was like to watch them play, what it was like to meet them, all that stuff. And listen, if you just want a video that is just about the music and you don't want to hear a bunch of sentimental horse hockey that I'm about to unleash on you, you check the timestamp, okay? If you don't want to go on the journey with me from suburban Rochester to Backstage with the band, you can just skip to that time. If you don't want to hear what it was like meeting them, spending about an hour hanging out with them, I'm not going to be giving details. I'm not going to be like telling specifics of conversations, because it wasn't an interview, but you'll definitely understand the vibe and the feeling of what it's like to actually get to hang out with one of the world's best bands. So if you don't want to see that, just skip to the little bit there. I'll put it at the top of the description, because this is going to be the most wholesome concert review with the most wholesome family of the most wholesome band in the most wholesome venue in the most wholesome city in all of North America. And so let's just get into the story, okay? So if you don't know, Geese is one of my favorite bands. I say it all the time. And I knew they were playing in October. But, the details got kind of fuzzy, and I'm like, my life is super busy. And so I realized it was going to be the same time that my daughter was going to be coming back freshman year for her October break. So she had a 3-day break. And I'm like, geez, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I should do this because that would be like an entire day. So it takes about 4 to 5 hours to get to Toronto. So that's 4 hours there, plus going to the concert, plus, going to the concert and then driving back and getting home late and being tired and having the next day be kind of a wash. I don't know, because I also have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So I'm two very difficult old dogs, okay? So what am I going to do? Just stick my wife with all that responsibility, And beyond that, by the time I realized that there was a chance of going, I looked up the tickets online. And, it makes sense. Of course it's sold out. Who doesn't want to see one of the best bands in the world touring one of the best albums of the year, sort of at the height of their absolute collective power? Who would not want to go see this tour right now? You should be trying to find tickets right now if you don't already have them. But they were $500, because we're talking on-demand pricing or whatever this stuff is that they're trying to sell us, So I did something that I've never done. I've never done it, but their publicists had reached out to me to send me a vinyl. So I just sheepishly sent an email on I think it was Tuesday morning, like, hi, I'm thinking about going to the show, but the tickets are sold out. They respond within 10 minutes, being like, do you need a +1? So I'm like, okay. At this point, I started to feel kind of froggy. And then I was like, well, I know the band likes me because they've mentioned me on live streams, unless all the auditors have been lying to me about their live streams. Or number two, the publicists, they reached out to me. So I just decided to shoot my shot, and I say, hey, maybe could I meet the band, just to get a photo, just like I did for Black Midi with my son and Black Country New Road with my son, meet them after the show, just get a quick photo, say hi, shake hands, whatever, that kind of basic thing. The response from the totally awesome, completely responsive publicists were, we'll see. This is going to have to be a play-by-ear thing. Of course, I don't know what their life is like. I don't know what their tour is like. I don't know what it's like. So, I'm not expecting anything. And I was put in touch with their tour manager. I don't know if the publicist or the tour manager want their names out there, so I'm just going to call them that. But if I could name them, I would say a big thank you here. But they're private citizens, right? So, anyways, I call my daughter and I say, "Bad news, dear. We're not going to be able to watch Tron because we're big fans of Tron Legacy. Instead, with that time, we are going to go see Geese in Toronto." Now listen, my daughter is a huge fan of the album Heavy Metal, and I'd say 1 huge for Geese, 2 huge for Heavy Metal, right? But just a huge fan of Geese and Cameron Winter and the whole thing. And so she is just ridiculously excited to go see the show. At this point, we don't think that we're going to have any, access or anything like that. We just think we're going to get to go. and not going to have to spend $1,000 to do it, which is great. So we leave at 3 o'clock. And by the way, my wife, if you like this video, say thank you, Dr. and Mrs., because the Dr. and Mrs. really came to play, you know? She insisted, absolutely insisted that I go. She's like, this is going to be good for your channel. This is what your channel is actually about. Your channel is not about chasing clicks off of Drake. Your channel is about rejoicing in new music and finding greatness in humanity. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. So I'm kind of shifting back to the roots of this channel, which is less clicks, but more fulfilling, right? And she's like, you know, you'll have a nice time, and I got it while I'm at home here. You don't have to worry about it. So thank you to the Dr. and Mrs. So we leave at 3 o'clock. If you've been watching my channel, my reviews of going up to Toronto, I have a love-hate relationship with Toronto. Fortunately, the border was super duper easy this time. I picked the right lane. It was awesome. And then we have our tradition. If you've been watching my channel, you know I have my traditions. You know, like my number one concert tradition when it goes to going to Toronto, how do I get that photo off? Is going to the A&W. A&W is a chain out of America that is more popular in Canada. A&W Root Beer makes fairly good root beer, and they have this weird menu where there's like the Mama Burger, the Papa Burger, and then the Teen Burger feels very Drake coded. There's like the Double Teen Burger. You see I took a picture here, but we always stop at the exact same A&W every time we go to Toronto. I don't know why. We never like the food. It always makes us kind of sick. I got a teen burger, which is just a bacon cheeseburger. This is going to become important later, by the way. You think this is unimportant? This is important. All right. So anyways, we get the food and we drive in. As always, my relationship to Toronto is very weird now. I've been going there. I've probably been there more than once a year for the last 15 years. And I was there probably 8 times before then. Like, I've spent a lot of time there. I've been watching it just get bigger and bigger and more just glass and steel. My daughter, very funny, she said, you know, we're doing the whole drive. We were driving up. We listened to the entire Geese discography, the Cameron Winter album. We're just having a great time driving, eating M&Ms. It's awesome. Eating our teen burgers. She compared Toronto to the video game Smash Hit, which is a game where you like throw marbles at these like glass triangles and stuff, glass pyramids. It's very, very funny. We see the Some Sexy Songs for You towers. You know, it's pretty funny. We pull in. The traffic is not as bad as it usually is to get into Toronto, so I'm feeling good. Because I have to tell you, I have an email. The last email was, contact the tour manager when you get there. And so I have a phone number, but I don't know if that's going to work. And I'm a people pleaser. I don't like being pushy. I don't like trying to get into places, you know? If my daughter weren't there, frankly, I wouldn't have worked so hard. But I know that she's such a big fan that, like, I can do this for her. And it's kind of unfair that her older brother got to meet, you know, Black Country New Road and Black Midi. And, you know, that's unfair. But, you know, I want her to get the fun part of being Professor Skye's daughter. So I got a parking spot. I'm not sponsored by Spot Hero, but it's a great service. $6, 5 minutes down the street. It was great. Super sketchy though. The like stairwell was filled with like condom wrappers and old vapes and cigarettes and broken alcohol bottles, but that's fine. We go there and we see a super duper long line around the corner. And I see it, and I'm like, well, they said to go to the box office, so maybe we don't? My dad's like, my daughter's like, Dad, we can't skip the line. That's douchey. Like, I don't know, dear. I mean, I think that's what I'm supposed to do. So I go and talk to the security guard. Listen, there's a lot of stereotypes about Canada, okay? Many of them are true sometimes. One of them is the general level of friendliness. Canadian security guards, I don't know what, but I was like, I think my name's on the guest list. Oh, here you go. Like, you know, no big dogging, just a super friendly guy lets us in. And I give my name, my full government name. And she's like, I'm sorry, I don't see it. I'm starting to get a little bit nervous here. And I was like, oh, is it under Professor Skye? Oh, here you go. So we get in, right? And it's great. We get in. It's a cool venue. It used to be an opera house. Now it's like a club. First thing we do, we go to use the bathroom because, we've been stuck in Toronto traffic. I go down these little stairways. And then the first time coming out, did you hear that sound? That's Canada geese. This whole video is going to be a whole series of jokes about Canada geese, which is what people call them Canadian geese, but the name of the species is actually Canada geese, because I'm seeing geese in Canada. I'm not going to make that joke, though, so don't worry. So this is the first time that I'm stopped by somebody who recognizes me, kind of embarrassingly, like, "Are you Professor Skye? Can I take a photo?" Listen, I imagine that at some point it's possible that I won't enjoy being stopped and told that people appreciate my work, but I am not at that point. So if you ever see me in public, feel free to, until further notice, feel free to stop me and say, "Hey, G, I really like the way you talk about music," because that's a really rewarding thing for me to hear, and I actually appreciate it. It is not unwelcomed at all. Okay. And then, we get in there, and then I text the tour manager, just say, "We're here." I still don't want to be too pushy. I emailed the publicist at the same time just to say, "I'm here," not trying to be too pushy. And then we look at the merch line, and then I had to follow what I call the Dev Lemons law. Dev Lemons made an amazing video about what it's like to be an opener on a tour. And she basically said, it is your moral responsibility, if you have the money, to support an opening act. Now listen, you, my auditors, have been begging me to review the album by Racing Mount Pleasant. You've been telling me how great it is, how it's like an American version of Black Country New Road, and how great it is, all that. And I just haven't heard it. So haven't heard the album, but I bought it on vinyl. On your recommendation, okay? I recommend stuff to you, you recommend stuff to me. You said this album's this good, so I just bought it. I figure they're going to be good. I buy it, of course, who sells the merch for opening bands? The opening bands themselves, So I was being a cool guy like that, and you can see me holding up the album with one of the horn players there for Racing Mount Pleasant, and I was all excited to see the show. At this point, I had no idea if I was, the cool thing was, the guy actually recognized me. So the saxophone player from Racing Mount Pleasant was like, "Are you Professor Skye?" And so that was really cool, because I was like, yeah, and I'm gonna review the album, because I am gonna review this album, because it's obviously they're great, but like, I just had to trust you guys on that one. So, I'm going to get to that. And I told him, I was like, "Oh, no pressure, kind of a funny thing here. I found a perfect spot next to the wall. I'm not trying to get COVID again." Oh, did I mention thanks to the doctor and missus? Because she's at home and she's telling me that everything's great. And at that time it was. But right after she said things were great, my dog, Bo, has an abscess on his foot, and it was just oozing pus and blood all over the house. My wife cleaned that up while I'm sitting there rocking and rolling in Toronto. And then she puts our 1-year-old to bed, who falls asleep, and then she coughs so much that she just absolutely everywhere. So yeah. Anyways, she's very happy that I had so much fun. So I find a nice little spot. Man, a lot of people came up and said hi, and I really appreciate it. It was really fun. Just seeing, some people just did a shake. Some people said, "I really appreciate your work." Some people are like, "Professor," and then they don't know my last name. So that means they don't know my name. That's fine too. Yeah. Racing Mount Pleasant comes on, and it's awesome. I'm like totally into it. I'm totally psyched. I'm like, nothing can take me out of this moment. This is awesome. And then I get a text message. I get the following text. "Hey, exclamation point. Where are you? Question mark. I'll bring you down to the green room if you want. Exclamation point." I almost broke my finger. I almost broke my thumb being like, how do I type? Like, I got so excited. And I was like, we're on the floor, where to meet? And then he's like, "Oh, it's too hard to get through the floor. Meet me at the merch area." So I go to the merch area, and he shows up. And then this is where I just want to share the experience for you, because listen, never in my entire life did I expect to have an experience like this. I've been to 100 concerts, probably more in my life. I've never expected to have this kind of experience. So it was really fun. And I want to share you what it was like. He gives this sticker right here. Okay? Geese. All access. He gives me the sticker. I'm so nervous, I can't even peel it off. You see how clumsily I put it on my jacket, right? I'm just like, and he like takes us outside. outside. Like, you can't leave and come back, but of course, we're all access, baby. We're all access. So so we walk outside past a bunch of people and then to like a secret door where he does like a little knock. I tried not to memorize the knock. We go in, there's like some dude sleeping on the couch. And I'm like, I realized the main problem of this whole thing is that I know all of the names of the members of Geese. I know what they play, but I don't know exactly what they look like because I'm not like on the live streams and I don't like watch live performances and stuff like that. So I'm like, I don't think this dude on the couch is a member, so I'm just going to let that go. And then the door is open to a little room, okay? On the screen is Game 5 of the NLDS, National League Division Series. Okay, this is the Milwaukee Brewers versus the Chicago Cubs. Okay, this is winner take all Game 5. If you don't know, I love baseball. I follow the Boston Red Sox, so baseball's the abstract sport for me right now. It's less passionate, but I see the game is on there. I'm like, okay, that's kind of fun. And then I scan the room, and there's like one guy I don't recognize, another guy I don't recognize, another guy I don't recognize. Okay, just kind of older guys. I mean, whatever, younger than me, but older than how young Geese are. And then closest to the door is a dude just sitting there, like wearing a nice, blue sweater, reading a book. And I'm like, that's Cameron Winter, right? like, it's a weird thing, right? It's a weird thing. Like, it's not even like starstruck. It's just like bizarre, right? Because like, just there's the guy. And the setting, and listen, you might want to know what book it is. I'm not going to tell you the name of the book. I'm not going to tell you any personal stories that he told or anything that I heard. I will give you the vibe, the general conversation, But like, I was even hesitant to release a video about this because it was such like a pure and wholesome event. It was like I wasn't trying to get anything from him and he wasn't trying to get anything from me. And the band wasn't trying to get anything from me. I wasn't trying to get anything from them, It was just like this awesome, it was like an actual just hanging out. Now, mind you, I expected the weight of being Cameron Winter to be so great that I was not going to meet him. Or if I met him, it would have been for like a second. Like I expected him to be in like some kind of Darth Vader meditation chamber or something, just like working on the other stuff, and like that I would just meet the other band members who aren't like the ones weighed down by the fears of Masterpiece, right? But like that wasn't it at all. And it was just like immediately he was very complimentary of the channel and of what I do. He's just very warm, friendly, quiet, but like considered. Like everything he said was really well considered. He was like asking questions about like where I teach. You know what I mean? It was like, and it just made me realize how great this moment was and why, and I'll talk about me and the rest of the band in a second, why this was so great. Because like, when you have any level of notoriety or success or fame or whatever, then your life, it changes because you go from only meeting people to also being met, right? So, the first time I met a famous person, like I met them. And for them, the experience was kind of that direction. And then the first time someone said, "Are you Professor Skye?" and shook my hand, I was being met. And that's really fun because he legitimately appreciated my work. So like we were actually meeting each other. And more than that, what he appreciates and what the rest of the band said they appreciate about what I do is essentially what I think I do best, which is help artists to feel seen. Like I just try to use whatever skills I have as an analyst, as a communicator, as the son of a preacher to help artists feel seen. That like it's really hard. Even the most successful artists in the world are not getting recognized and not being thought about and not being treated with the seriousness, even the compassion that they deserve. So I try to do that. And so what I was getting from Cameron and later from the rest of the band was that they were seen like by me. And then them saying that to me meant that I felt seen because I've spent the last couple months, just having this hard time with the channel going downhill and all that, and just ever since the beef kind of subsided, my numbers have gone down. I'm still doing, whatever. I never expected to have even this much success, so I'm still successful, but like my understanding of the value of the channel, the spiritual, the emotional value of the channel has been kind of replaced by this other kind of weird metric system here. And here I am feeling like I can see their artistry and they can see mine. And like, that's why we're not trying to get anything from each other. So I wasn't expecting any of this. I was expecting it to just be meeting them at the end of the show, just like I did with Black Midi and Black Country New Road, and which is awesome, which I didn't expect that either. I'm not any artist who wants to meet me like that. You just let me know. ProfessorSkyBusiness@gmail.com. But this was like seriously hanging out. The only bummer was I didn't get to watch Racing Mount Pleasant. So I'm going to have to catch them the next time they come around, because my daughter and I were just hanging out. The tour manager comes up, it's like, we have some chicken carcass if you want some. Do you want some water? Well, what do you want? Like, we're just kind of hanging out here. And we're like, we're not intruding, are we? And I was like, no one cares. And everyone's like watching this baseball game. So now more people come in, and this is where I'm at a tough spot, because again, I know the members' names, I know what they play, but I don't know exactly what they look like. But fortunately, it wasn't that tough. I'm a drummer. I've been around drummers. Drummers exude drummer energy. It's a kind of joyous, goofy animalness. And I mean animals in From the Muppets, okay? That kind of thing. And so right there, Max didn't have to introduce himself. I knew who he was, just because just very clearly he had that energy, super complimentary, super boisterous, really funny, energetic. And then right behind him comes Dominic, the bass player, super bouncy and excited. Mentioned that he has my Haiti videos on my second channel on his watch list, which is just super funny. Just the idea that like a bass player of one of my favorite bands is going to watch one of my history lessons, And this is just where everything just gets, oh, yeah. Hi, it's my daughter. She's trying to make me laugh. Just the strangeness of this whole thing, of like this thing that I just do in my living room with my iPhone camera is going to lead me here. So at this point, everyone except for Emily is around. She'll be around soon. And we're just kind of hanging around, and like, the baseball game is on the whole time. Their photographer is a British dude, but he apparently really loves the Cubs. And so like all the members of the band are like invested, even though they're all Mets fans, which is a different team. And we're talking about the Mets and the Red Sox. Like, they're invested in their photographer or their roadie. Well, I don't know exactly sure what his role is, but that he's happy. And unfortunately the Brewers won. But anyways, unfortunately for them. But like, they're just sitting and watching, and it's the whole thing about the high school band energy. It has that kind of wholesomeness and the joy and energy of like, can you believe we get to play together and just hang around and eat chicken carcass and watch baseball? And then we end up discussing, because they're playing the Milwaukee Brewers, we end up discussing Milwaukee. And there's a couple of jokes and even a personal story here or there about Milwaukee, which I'm not going to get into. But like, sort of jokes like, they're like, Milwaukee's seen all this trouble, and what's he even for? And, like talking about the breweries and all that. And I realized, like, ever since 1992, when I first saw Wayne's World, my dream of going backstage has been set by the movie Wayne's World, directed by Nora Ephron, starring Mike Myers and Dana Carvey as rock-addicted high school nerds. Well, not nerds, but, rockers, kind of burnout guys who get to go backstage at an Alice Cooper show in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. And they have one of these. They have an all access pass. And they just show it to everybody. Which is like, that's what I was doing too. I was like showing everybody my pass. My daughter told me a story, because they gave her one too. She went to the bathroom and she went up the stairs and someone saw her the pass and went, "Oh, excuse me." And she's like, "Oh no, I'm not a person. You're probably more of a person than I am." But, so I'm sitting there like full on Wayne's World style, showing off my all access pass. And it happens to be that in that movie, Alice Cooper has a discussion about Milwaukee, with them. Wayne asks, so do you come to Milwaukee often? Alice Cooper says, well, I'm a regular visitor here, but Milwaukee certainly has had a fair share of visitors. The French missionaries and explorers were coming here as early as the late 1600s to trade with the Native Americans. Pete says, in fact, isn't Milwaukee an Indian name? Alice Cooper says, yes, it is, Pete. It's actually pronounced Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land. To which Wayne Campbell responds, I was not aware of that. So this is a really funny moment because I am thinking, like I'm just thinking of Wayne's World the entire time. And then we end up having a discussion about Milwaukee. So Milwaukee. So, baseball was a huge topic of conversation. Obviously, there's more personal stuff or, just kind of like other stuff about music. But then the other conversation ended up being Geese also goes to A&W in Toronto. That's also their tradition. So I had a conversation with Cameron and the rest of the band about the teen burger and about the weirdness and the grossness and the joy. So here I am, an American professor, his daughter, and maybe the best band in America, all in Canada talking about baseball and hamburgers. It's you just can't write that script. There's all these kind of great little moments, like there's a part where everyone was watching the game and then someone just sat down and then just like, Cameron was just like standing up and like there was like 3 roadies sitting down. So like that gives you an idea sort of like what it's like there where, the singer, the solo artist star is standing up just watching the game so that the roadies can sit down because why not, right? Like he's not some different guy, he's just a guy. Those are just guys, right? It's just great. It was at this point that my I was able to kind of sneak in a little moment with my daughter. So I was like, listen, this is great for my daughter. Most kids never have this kind of experience. I can't I don't think, that my dad would have successfully got me to like hang out backstage with Smog when I was 17 years old, right? So like I know this is special, but I'm like I know that she loves Geese, but she loves the heavy metal albums. So I kind of take them aside. And I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, Cameron. Would you mind if we just took a picture, just you two? Because her favorite album is heavy metal, and then she shared her favorite song on heavy metal, and then he said, that's my favorite song too. I'm not going to tell you the song because that's personal between them, but it's a very sweet moment. And I took the pictures and like, it looks like they're friends. I mean, obviously they're not, but I took 3 pictures and one of the pictures, they're just kind of, I'm not going to show you because, my daughter, she's a minor, just smiling and talking. And it's just great. And I want to just give a shout out to my daughter who never watches my videos. So it doesn't matter. I could tell the secret location of like a hidden treasure and she'd never watch the video. I don't blame her. But she waited to fangirl out like until the right moment. Because, I mean, you have to imagine what it must be like. She's sitting there, we're just talking to Cameron effing Winter, And I'm having fun talking to Max about how I pronounce his name. And he's talking about how he listened to my review while biking. I just really like that little detail. Emily appears and she's wearing a Buddy Holly shirt. I resisted the urge to make the point about the song Long Island City, Here I Come, and tie it together with Buddy Holly and the day that the music died. Because listen, everyone's not here. Everyone's just chilling, Skye. It's a nice hang. I was really tempted. Okay. But again, she was super appreciative. She had a friend there who was also really appreciative of the channel and everything. So that was really nice. I was able to see some cool minor drama where Emily had this beautiful black dress. I don't know where it was. It was a really nice, super tasteful black dress. But that created a problem because where do you put the transponder for the wireless guitar thing? So try it on the arm, and finally they got it on the back. So I'm seeing all these cool little things. I see the roadie who's writing down the set list with the different guitar changes, because the roadie's job is going to be to go from to take the guitars and pass them out and make sure they're tuned and make sure so that's some of the hardest job in the world. And getting to see him getting ready and writing it down. Another moment, it's just there's a guitar there and Cameron's just practicing, and just seeing how it's like, you know how, what is it? Is it like penguins are like the fastest animals in the world underwater, but like on land, they seem kind of awkward or whatever. So like the sort of the quietness and the reservedness of Cameron Winter kind of in person. Then like he's playing guitar and he just sort of feels like a penguin in water, just swimming and just, just like kind of free. There's like a sort of freedom to that, I'm like kind of looking around. I see that they do the thing where all the bands write their names on the concert. Oh yeah, sorry, that's the door. I forgot to tell you that. So this is the door that I took to get down there. This is what the tour manager, where they took me, and my daughter. This is very kind of cool. There's the names on the wall. You can see Geese wrote their name on the wall. We'll get to that picture in a second. So yeah, just all of the excitement. Dominic takes the set list and it's really cute. Turns it away from me and says, "No spoilers," And it's funny because I'm thinking a lot about the set list. So I do look at setlist.fm before I go see a show quite often now. Now, part of me doesn't like that I do that. Part of me thinks it's cheesy that I do that, but I also want to manage my expectations. So it seems as though they're not playing Cobra. So, okay. Cobra's, I don't know why, but that's the song I was most excited to hear. It seems they're not going to. We just kind of keep checking back in with the game, and I realize everybody's here, so that's where I have them take this legendary, at least to me, photo of all of us in the room. The reason the TV's there is that's where the game was happening. That's where the Brewers versus Cubs game was going. That's where we were talking about A&W, is just that little room in there. And it's really funny because Cameron seems like he's sort of sulky, but he was just the friendliest, most open person you could ever imagine. So the photo, I posted that to Instagram. Everyone's like, "He looks so sad." Like, no, it's just, just some people like that's, anyways. And they're all getting ready to go out, and they're talking about having ears, which, is their monitors. And I'm just like super awkward. But what's so great about it, he's like, I'm a collector, right? I'm a collector. I buy stuff that has meaning. And I'm in a room and I'm surrounded by like so many things. But like there was no part of me that wanted to own any of it or take any of it. Like not, you know what I mean? Like there's something about it that was just so great because it's not like it wasn't an interview. It was just this great reciprocal hangout session. I did really appreciate, we were talking a little bit. And Cameron said that he appreciated my reference to Screenwriter Blues by Soul Coughing. So that indicated that he really watched my video pretty carefully. And I explained, my favorite thing about doing this channel is when I get to talk to artists and they say, that wasn't what I was thinking, but it makes sense. Like that's what I tried to do. So anyways, I like that. That was basically what he was saying about that. Before they go on, Dominic gives me a high five, like before the show. You know what I mean? And then gives my daughter a high five, and then gives Cameron a high five. So my daughter's like, yeah, that's how it works, basically. My dad, me, Cameron Winter. And just the wholesomeness needs to be appreciated. The high school bandness of this band just needs to be appreciated. So then the show starts, and I'm on the side of the stage. So there isn't a lot of space on the side of this particular stage. There's like stairs and a foot and then a trash can and then a bunch of stuff for the roadie, and people keep on walking by, and I'm totally uncomfortable because I think I'm in the way. But this, like, I must be driving the roadie absolutely crazy. But on the other hand, I was told I could stand here, and when am I ever going to get to do this? And like, I don't know. I told them I can leave. If they want me to leave, they can ask me to leave. That's what I figure. So this is, 1 second. What's the timestamp here? Okay. 33 minutes. We'll wait till 34 minutes and I'll say hello to everybody. Welcome to the concert part of my concert review. Part 1 starts where I am on the side of the stage with my daughter in a slightly uncomfortable position, but just watching. I can see very clearly Emily playing guitar. She's very close. A little bit further in the center is Cameron. I can see Max, the drummer, very close. I can barely see Sam Rivas, who's the sort of the touring member who sort of plays everything else. Very nice guy as well. And in the far side, I can see Dominic playing bass. And what was great about this position was obviously that I was right there with the band, which is very cool. But it was like looking from behind, so I could see sort of different things, especially it became a lot more drum-centered. And the way the mix sounds right there is you don't really hear the vocals that well. So for the first half, I didn't really hear Cameron Winter's amazing vocals and lyrics. It was mostly the band that I heard, especially Emily. And this gave me this whole appreciation for what Emily does for the band in a way that I don't think I could have possibly gotten on the other side of the stage. It made me realize there's something about this band that's particularly special, which is a kind of droney quality, a trance quality, not droney, a trance quality. And especially Emily gets in these little modes where she's playing these little riffs or these little repetitive things, and it feels almost like, I don't know, North African trance music or something. These repetitive sounds, these kind of like rhythmic little melodies, and it's almost psychedelic in a way. And like there's so much, and then that interplays with Max on the drums and Dominic on the bass. Like there's this real like ability that you get when you play music together and you're really together, where you can just sort of hit that kind of transcendent trance. And really, that's what I was able to see on this side by being that close, especially to Emily. So it starts off with Islands of Men, unexpected first song. It builds so nicely. Max Bassin is an amazingly fun drummer to watch, especially if you can be on the side and see his Adidas shoes going up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm being told that we're about to eat dinner. Okay, one second. Okay, you eat. Okay. What am I supposed to do? I'm half an hour in. You know, I'm sitting there, I'm looking, and I'm seeing the receivers working on the back of the dress. I'm super happy there. Then we get to 100 Horses. Hi, now they're all saying hi. 100 Horses, the little guitar line. It's so rocking. And then we get to Half Reel. There's this beautiful moment where Cameron is basically having to sort of calm down Max. Because, you know, Max is just an animal. He's got to calm him down, you know? And he's playing all the... And just the way that it was not an imperious lead singer telling his drummer to shut the F up. It's like people who have known each other for years just being like, all right, just chill a little bit. just chill a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it was like that was probably the most special thing to see from that side, is just seeing the ease with which they know each other, which is why it's important and why I said in my review, high school bands matter. It's a different thing than a bunch of professional musicians who get together. I don't know how tight they are. I got to be honest, at times it felt like maybe they were not entirely consistent with their tempos. At times they fell a little bit out of sync, but I think, I can't quite tell, but I think that's good, and I think that's actually making for better music and a better experience. Yeah, and this is just, I mean, for me here, Emily was just stealing the show here, all these little riffs. Then we get to Cowboy Nudes, which my computer auto-corrected to Cowboy Biden, which then made me think of Joe Biden naked in a cowboy hat. So now you have that image as long as I do. He has hairy legs, apparently. It's kind of jazzy. There's a great drum solo, which I filmed from the side here. Maybe I'll put that up in Instagram sometime, where we just get to see Max's solo, and then we got Dominic playing the bongos, and like just getting to see it, just how exciting it is, and just really, when you're stage level, it just gives you totally different appreciation for whoever's closest to you. So much appreciation for Emily, so much appreciation for Max as they're playing. I did have a couple of intrusive thoughts, which I thought I would share with you, which are, one, I was right next to a fire extinguisher, and I realized I could like end my entire life if I just ran out on the stage with the fire extinguisher and just started shooting it all over the place. You know, those intrusive thoughts? And then the other one was the roadie had a chromatic tuner. And I realized if that was gone, the entire show would be over, because if the guitars aren't tuned, you know? Anyways, don't worry about intrusive thoughts. They're gone. And then I did. They had I saw the set list, and I read it. I'm sorry, Dominic. I had to spoil it. I had to see, because I just had to know. And I did see that Cobra was going to be there. And I did see that Long Island City, Here I Come is not. So like it was a great exchange. You can't get everything. So that's what the set list looked like with all the little notations from the roadie. Okay, long live roadies. Then Gravity Blues, fun guitar and drum intro, Mysterious Love, just more crazy aggro start with Emily. Like seriously, when you're that close to Emily and you're watching her more than you're watching, because you can't help but watch lead singer. Whenever you're sitting in front of the stage, you can't help but look at the person who's in the center who's doing the singing. But when that person is obscured, like I'm just like, oh my God. She is the glue that is keeping all this together. She is doing all the most sort of like far out experimental musical stuff that's happening here. Like she's the one who's leading it. Anyways, but that could just be because that's what I was hearing. Let me just pause and make sure they don't actually need me to come out. Because, one second. All right, it turns out dinner's ready, so I have to hurry up. Yeah. So it's just this great, this is where I really saw Emily zoning out, playing the two notes. Then we get to Husband, this great boom and the muted snare and the singing with the cries. The security guard was full on dancing. You gotta love it. And then just this great like ride cymbal. And this is back to that trance thing. But now Max is in a trance, just playing the ride cymbal. And I'm just like, I'm in a trance band. I'm like a whirling dervish here. Then we get to the song Getting Killed, which is great because it had a Dominic solo. Because I sort of felt like Dominic was getting a little bit overshadowed in my impression of what's happening here. Kind of unexpected, sweet bass solo here. There's like a mosh pit that goes as the song gets slower. 21-22, Sam brings out the keytar. That's always popular. A full-on freak-out jam. A cover of the Pink Floyd jam, Interstellar Overdrive, from Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the Syd Barrett era. Then we get to Rain Dance, one of the earliest songs, kind of juvenilia, like the fun kind of freak out in the mosh pit. And this is where one of my favorite moments of the whole night happened. So the whole time I'm thinking, and my daughter's thinking, like, we're taking up too much space. This is not okay, but how are we possibly going to leave? The tour manager, absolutely one of the nicest people I've ever met, leans over and says, the light show looks really good from the balcony. Say no more. That's him saying, you guys need to get out of here. This is too much. Without being rude, without making us feel uncomfortable. Like, they knew that I knew what that meant. And it was all respect. Like, I was so happy to be told to leave when it was a good time for me to leave in a way that was like that. So it was great. Went back outside, went up, and then I went to the second balcony and I got to see Au Pays de Cocaine, probably my favorite song on the album right now. I don't know, they keep changing just the emotion. And now I'm away because when you actually are that close to the stage, you feel like people are watching you. But here I am on the second balcony with nobody around me, like super far up. I'll show you the picture again of what it looked like. Right? Like, look at this. Like, this looks like, you can't even see, like, the drummer's there. Like, that's all I can see. But you end up being less self-conscious. I ended up going more into a trance at this point. In some ways, I think I might enjoy this more because I am like, I didn't enjoy it more. But, like, it's a totally different experience because I'm, like, losing myself to the music. And then Cameron starts saying, you can change. And if you watched my video, you know that I counted how many changes. So I'm sitting there counting how many changes, and he does 16. I'd like to think he did 6 more because of me, but I don't know. I didn't ask him. And if he told me, I wouldn't tell you. So there you go. And then we get to Bow Down. My daughter's like, if they're going to do Bow Down, I have to go down to the pit. So she went down to the pit, but she actually used her all access pass to sneak in to like the little well in between the stage and the pit, because, you got access and a beautiful little jam thrown in there. Then we get the Taxes with that single light just blinding me. And just the song itself is like the thesis statement of the entire album and the entire tour and the entire zone that they're in right now, because what great bands do is they have different zones and different feelings and different times. And this is their feeling. And Taxes is what they are right now. And the band all together. And I'm basically like a deadhead at this point. I'm basically like twirling. Like I am just losing it. St. Elmo, one of their older songs, so funky and cool and tight. And then we have like the encore. But I knew what the encore was going to be because I read the spoilers. They go out and play Domoto, just Cameron and a piano and a spotlight, and then Cobra, the highlight. Even though I was so far away and I couldn't see anything and I couldn't really make out what it was, I was just so happy to hear Cobra. It's just made me realize what a great venue this was. Even though I was up here on the second balcony, I could hear so much. Cameron jokes around with the audience saying that there's not going to be 10 more songs. There's only going to be one. These things are pre-decided. You just wind us up, put us out here. What's funny is because, like that, very self-effacing. And then they end with Trinidad. What's in my car? Before I tell you, I have to tune it down to drop D. Following the tradition of Jimi Hendrix, who used to say before he'd tune, this is an old Chinese song called Tun Ying, which I guess is culturally inappropriate, but it was the 60s. And then Trinidad is like the amazing song to end with because it's the first song on the album, but the last song of this particular concert. And just like the extended polyrhythm really gives into that trance-like quality. And I'm just blinded by this light. And it's just a total trance. And I'm just totally in the vibe. And I'm screaming, there's a burning God! Which I got to stop singing because I'm going to be going back into customs in like a couple hours. And like part of me was like, I wish it was Long Island City because that's the last song on the album. And that would have been perfect. But no. Because if you've been watching my Geese coverage, you know that I listened to Trinidad when I dropped off my daughter at college. That was the first time I heard it, was when I was dropping her off and I was having that moment. So in between the time that I first heard a song off the album and now where I just spent like an hour with the entire effing band talking about cheeseburgers and baseball, now, you know what I mean? Like the full circle. And so my daughter said, hey, I'm still backstage, come get me. So I take my little pass, show it to everybody. Get back in. On the way in, I ran to some guy who's wearing a Tonight's the Night t-shirt of Neil Young, and I'm like, that's what I'm telling you. This album is very Tonight's the Night-ish. And then his friend who was there was like, you're the professor. I'm like, yeah, Professor Skye. Oh, awesome. I guess from Halifax. Anyways, I was talking to you, and I forgot the name of the Canadian band, Kiwi Jr. Anyways, go in, see the tour manager, thank them a lot. Just what they are, just such a great person. But I was like, I thought tour managers were supposed to be like mean and surly and drunk and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. That tour manager is very nice. So we walked on the stage, shook hands, said thanks, and then just kind of like dipped in and said bye to the band. They're all just there in the post show glow. And just said, the video will be out. And Cameron's like, oh, you're going to make a video? And I realized, like, oh, no. Like, I kind of hope that, like, making this video hasn't betrayed their trust. But I hope it hasn't. I think I've been kind of careful with that. And then we just drove home. And just the whole way, my daughter and I were just in a state of disbelief. Just like, did that happen? Did that really happen? I can't believe that happened. That is just one of the coolest things that's ever happened. So, in conclusion, if you have a chance to see Geese on this tour, I highly suggest it. They are a band in the truest sense of people who know how to play together and like to play together and do it in a way that plays their great, mysterious, and wonderful music. Yeah, I think that should be clear. All right, I'm not going to have eggplant parmesan. And I almost said I love you because I'm looking at my wife. But I appreciate you watching. All right, till next time, there's Cam.